Uh, great, I think you can all hear me. So I'm going to mute everyone and we can get today's panel started. So hopefully today's time is a little bit more convenient for everyone. And yes, so hopefully we'll get some feedback on that afterwards. We'll send out a survey later to get your feedback about today's panel, about the events of the last month as an MCM and all that fun stuff. But first, let's put a little visual up on the screen. We good? All right, perfect. All right, so today's MCM panel. Today we're going to be talking about a couple things. So first is the interactive training update. Second, we're going to talk about some new MCMs that will be joining the team. Third, we're going to go over the current recruitment process. So with now that NTS is no longer a part of the program, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your referrals? So we'll go over that. And then Bryce is going to take over and talk about the MCM assistant, walk you through it, show you all the resources that are available there, and hopefully he'll be able to help you make the most of it as well. And then we'll also go over some of the questions that you guys answered in that form that we sent out last week. And if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask today, we can get to that as well. Okay. So, oops. Here we go. All right, the interactive mock class update has been suspended for an indefinite amount of time. I know that we released the training updates, the training materials, and we had a workshop to help you guys get used to it. But at this moment in time, the materials that were released, I think about a month ago, are not going to be used. That doesn't mean that there will not be an interactive update in the future. It just means that right now, the content that we initially released, we've decided to try to improve it, make some tweaks, and the mock class process as a whole will probably be going through some changes in the near future. But I wouldn't be too concerned about that right now. It won't have any impact on you as an MCM. We're just trying to change everything and optimize it, take your feedback, and try to perfect the process so that many of the problems that you see, like for example, people parroting in their videos or miming, or it seems like they're kind of just going through the motions. We want to try to make it so that we're finding the best applicants to become the best teachers, not the best actors who can pretend to be the best teachers. Weekend only MCM. So in the upcoming couple weeks, there will be 20 to 30 new MCMs added to the team. These are weekend only MCMs. So recently we've been noticing about maybe a 50 to 60% booking rate on weekdays. So a booking rate means that of all the total slots opened by our MCMs, how many of them get booked? So currently our weekdays are okay. And our weekends are experiencing about an 80, on average, somewhere between an 80 to 95% booking rate. So we're getting a lot of people that really want to have their mock classes on the weekends, and we're trying to meet that demand. Again, these MCMs are weekend only. So if they ask any questions that seem obvious or new, just be supportive, be friendly. Next week, we'll try to shout some of them out in the weekly updates, so you'll be able to recognize who they are. If you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and type them into the chat box. So does anyone have any questions about weekend only MCMs? No? We're okay? All right, good. Just one second.
Eric's having technical difficulties with his nose right now.
Okay. So yes, please, no more acting. I'm sorry, Bryce, I missed you. Hope you're good. Are you looking for referrals at the moment? We are not. We have a bunch of MCMs who are MCM applicants who are going through the process. So we're okay. Can we still open for the weekend? Yes, you can, absolutely. So the inclusion of weekend-only MCMs does not impact our current MCMs. So that means that you would be considered full-time MCMs, meaning you can open slots whenever you want. They will only be able to open slots on the weekends. And if demand changes, or if they're proving to be excellent MCMs who have a high capacity, then we may allow them to open slots on weekdays as well. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the current recruitment process. So without NTS, some things have changed. So I'm just going to go from the top. So the first thing we have is the interview phase. This is the interview with a Chinese interviewer, and it's a very quick demo lesson, and then they will fail or pass, and then if they pass, they will go to Mach 1. If the applicant attends a FastPass event, they can also go straight to Mach 1. So again, a FastPass is an in-person event held by the FastPass team in the US. I think they're having an event in Canada soon, so whoop, whoop. And if they attend that, then they get to go straight to Mach 1 as well. So you can either take the interview and pass to Mach 1, or you can go to the FastPass and you don't have to do the interview, and then you go to Mach 1. So for Mach 1, if you fail Mach 1, you go to Mach 2. If you pass, you get major course certified. If you pass both parts of Mach 1, so Mach 1A and Mach 1B, and you crush it, you do really well, you will be offered a choice to be a level 1 only teacher. And then you have to do some certifications, and then you'll be level 1 only certified. And then you can go and get your level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 at your own time. If you only pass 1A, you can only teach level 2. If you only pass 1B, I believe you can only teach level 4. Yes. And then for Mach 2, so then if you fail Mach 1, you go to Mach 2. So there's 3 things that could happen in Mach 2. First is you can fail. So if you score below the TBD range, then you will fail. If you fail but are within the TBD range, your video will be reviewed. And then if you pass, you will be major course certified. So let's talk about what fail but within a scoring range means. So if an applicant fails and then their score is within a certain range to a certain range, that class will be reviewed by head office. And if their score is a pass score, then they'll become major course certified. If they are not, if they still fall within the scoring range, the initial scoring range, then they will be put in the Jumpstart program. The Jumpstart program is a program where the teachers will practice in a demo room, and then they will interact with a learning partner. And if 3 learning partners feel like this teacher is ready to teach, then they will move on and become major course certified. All right, so let's get through a couple questions. What is considered the weekend? Okay, the weekend would be, I have the specific times, but it does not include Friday. So it's basically Saturday and Sunday North American time. How to limit their schedule? Is it just the weekends? Is it locked for them? They can open slots on the weekdays, but they will not get paid if they have any slots open on the weekdays, and that's in the contract. So we can't stop them from opening on the weekdays. They just will not be compensated. What's considered the weekend? Friday evening is included. No, it's not. Can we know where are the peak times for interviews in Beijing time? It'd be great to make ourselves available when there's a higher chance to get booked. Okay, so this is something that we are trying to look into. We are going to try to be able to give you a breakdown of what the previous week's bookings are looking like. So we'll tell you the booking rate on a specific hour-by-hour schedule, depending on how many classes are booked at that hour. So for example, if one slot is opened at 1 a.m. on Saturday, that would have a 100% booking rate. which doesn't mean that it's very busy. It just means that one person opened a time where somebody got booked. So we will be releasing statistics that will probably be like a minimum of 10 slots opened at this time and what was the high booking rate. So anything above 80% based on that time. Is the recorded demo still an option? For the interview phase, I believe it is. How can we be a part of the FastPass team? I will put out a link basically to show interest. So I will send out 2 links later today. 1 second. So the first link will be, you'll be able to kind of show your interest in being a part of FastPass. And the second link is if you are interested in being a teacher mentor. Okay, now just because you fill out these links doesn't mean that you are starting the application process. We are merely compiling a list of people who are interested. So filling it out just kind of puts your name out there. Says like, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to participate, but it does not mean that you're starting the application process or anything like that. So you said if they do an excellent on Mach 1, they can do only level 1 to start. Why is that? It's not my program. I'm sorry. I can only explain the recruitment process. Pre-VIP kid takes a lot of energy and TPR. Are you sure that's what's going to happen? You have to be certified for level 1 too. Yes, level 1 only is still a program. So that's what's going to happen. I feel like we need a flow chart. Can we get a flow chart? I mean, I could provide a flow chart. The problem is that right now with the transition from NTS, things are going to change rather quickly. And I'm not always up to date on those changes. So I don't really want to put anything out on pen and paper, on paper that might change at the last minute. Will the learning partners be MCMs? No, they're actually learning partners. They are the staff members at VIP Kid that help with the students. So whenever a student or parent has a complaint, the LPs kind of look into that, see if things are doing okay, where the problem is coming from on which end. These teachers have the option to pass on level 1, and then they will have other major course certifications. Yeah, so that's basically it. So if they're outstanding teachers, they have the option of being level 1 only, and then they can get other major course certifications. It doesn't mean that they have to take it. It's up to them. So again, the learning partner is not something for MCMs. It is a role for Chinese staff members in VIP Kid here in China now. Also known as Chinese lead teachers, yes. Can the interviewers make it more clear they're going to mock? Can the interviewers make it more clear that going to mock does not mean they are hired? Many of my APs assume this is a formality and they think that they are already hired. It can be a bit awkward. Yes, we can try to further clarify that in the emails that they get. I'd like to see the wording change from those that fail Mach 1 instead of getting an email that says you passed to Mach 2. It's something more like you failed, but you have another chance. That is a good idea. I don't believe they are sent the contract until they pass either Mach 1 or Mach 2. Okay, so we're going to move on. Okay. So now I'm going to pass it off to Bryce.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Good, I hope. It's me, Bryce, aka Awkward New Guy. Thank you all for coming. Real quick, I know most of you are probably familiar already with the MCM Assistant, but what I'm going to do here, if I can get it to work, is share my screen. Let's see. Can you all see that? Yes? Okay, great. Real quick, I just kind of want to run through some of the basic features of the MCM Assistant, what you can find there. Yeah, so let's get started. And afterwards, I'd love to get all of your feedback on it, like what has worked well for you on the site, what could be improved, etc. So let's take a quick look here. So yeah, this is the home page here. You can see there's some highlights. Basically, this is going to be things from the weekly update that are important that just kind of you can check out at a glance. Here is a link to read the full weekly update. So if you click on that, you're going to see obviously a much more detailed breakdown of the weekly update, which again, you're all going to still get in your email, but you can check on the website if for some reason you didn't get the email, or if you just happen to be on the website, or if that's easier for you to check. Over here, we've got some important dates. And also here, there's a form, by the way. I would love to get your feedback on the site. So if you want to fill out this form, give me your honest feedback. I would appreciate that. Down at the bottom of the homepage, we've got some common resources, MCMSS, troubleshooting tech issues, so on and so forth. I noticed a lot of people have had some trouble with the generic feedback, either downloading it or getting it to work on your computer for whatever reason. One thing I'm potentially going to look at in the future is maybe just incorporating that as part of the website itself, either as just a sheet where you can copy and paste the generic feedback, or maybe just on the web page itself. We'll kind of see how that works out, but I know some of you have been having trouble with the file itself, so anything we can do to kind of make that easier for you is better, obviously. Also over here, I want to draw your attention to the forms and folders section. So one thing that's pretty much always here is monthly mock evaluation. So if you click and check on that, it's going to open a folder. So even though we closed down the previous Google Drive, there is, if it loads, there we go. There is still a shared files drive for MCMs. It's just kind of in a different location now, but it's tied to the assistant. So if you have access to the assistant, then you also have access to this Google Drive. But basically this folder has previous and current scoring for all the monthly mock evaluations. So, you can click into a folder. Here's the most recent one. It was just posted. And you can see 1A, 1B, 2A, and 2B scoring, and open the documents to kind of get more details with that. So this folder should always be here for you to check out if you can't find it elsewhere on the site. And then also, if you just click on the Google Drive link itself, if you prefer to just look at all the files, I know some people didn't like that from the previous Google Drive, but if that's your thing, then you can also just click in here and check out the individual files just in a standard file folder format. So that's another option for you too. Also here, by the way, here's the breakdown for this week. So this is also, again, a direct link to the current monthly mock evaluation folder if you want to check that out. Yeah, and then moving right along to the checklist page. So again, if you're an experienced MCM and you've been doing this for a long time, this may not be something you need to reference all the time, but we still wanted to kind of put this here as an example of some good tips and kind of things to keep in mind when you're conducting a mock class. So things to remember at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the mock class. And then there's links, for example, to the Through Red Lines script, which you can reference there too. And yeah, and I think this will be particularly helpful for the new MCMs that will be onboarding to kind of condense the information from the MCMSS into a more digestible format. But of course, feel free to reference it at any time, either during a class or afterwards, whatever's easiest for you. Moving along, we've got the resources page. So this is a great go-to page, kind of has a little bit of everything on here. Again, some of the same resources that were found on the home page, but a few more. There's some mock lesson, like objectives and slides to be found here. Also some workflow stuff, so what to do for accent inquiries, class cancellations, payment booking questions, etc. As well as if you, again, need to take a break from the MCM role for vacation or whatnot, there's a leave tracking form you can fill out here. So go ahead and,
I mean, if they miss it,
oh,
they can't do it.
Yes. Part of the form as well, Eric just reminded me, is to check whether or not you will be missing the monthly mock evaluation. So just let us know if that's, you know, you're going to be gone or something during the first week of the month. So yeah, that's there for your reference. Also, there's just some general VIP kid stuff here, like tech requirements that any VIP kid teacher should be following along with. Or I think this is a great reference here, just general questions that applicants may have. So feel free to reference that, you know, if an applicant has any questions for you during the mock class. And next we've got the help page. So we've just got some general questions that are commonly asked here, like when to submit an accent inquiry, what are monthly mock evaluations, so on and so forth, and some basic contact information, mostly just for Eric and myself, which I imagine most of you probably already know how to contact us, but if you need to reference that for any reason. And lastly, we've also got the forum page. So one thing with this page, so it's basically a page within a page. So you'll notice here, it's taking a little bit longer. Part of that is probably just because Google stuff doesn't really work very well in China. But if you load this page, just be aware it does take a little bit longer to open up the forum within the page. Also, if you're having a lot of trouble accessing the forum, if you scroll down, there's actually a direct link here, which will kind of bypass this whole thing, so you won't have to do that weird loading page within a page stuff. Sometimes we found people have an easier time accessing the forum through this link here than trying to load it within the page. Also, this is kind of a common question that's come up, but if you are being bombarded by emails from the MCM forum and you know, you're like, please help me, my inbox is suffering. From the forum page, you can click this little button here, membership and email settings. That will allow you to customize your like profile picture within the forum. You can put a display name, you know, whatever, like your first name, last initial, or whatever you'd like. And then also control your email settings. So I believe you can completely disable email. You can get like a daily like digest, like an abridged version of what's going on in the forum, or it'll send you, I think another option is to send you basically an email every time a new thread is created. Or you can just subscribe to basically everything, which might be a little bit overwhelming for some people, but feel free to use that link there if you want to customize that. Yeah, oh, and then also one thing that's kind of a, I wouldn't really say a hidden feature, but maybe something you might come across is there's actually a search option here. So if for some reason you are, you know, looking through the site and you can't find what you're looking for example, let's just type in something here, tech issues, hit enter. Okay, so the first page here, you can actually find pages within the assistant by using that little search option. So, and then click it and it'll go straight to tech issues here. So yeah, it's kind of a small feature that might help you. But yeah, I would love to get everyone's feedback on this. If anyone has any questions for me now, I'll open up the chat and take a look here. I've been kind of ignoring that. Let's see here. Can we get a generic feedback? Let me make sure I went back far enough. Yes, can we get a generic feedback form that opens in Google Sheets? Yes, so I think I kind of mentioned that at the beginning, but I would definitely like to basically just get something that works in Google Sheets that anyone can open and view. And then, people from head office can, edit or modify. Part of the reason it's still an Excel format is there were some weird formulas, like, for example, when you type in a score, it would kind of build the positive and the negative feedback in the separate columns. I'm not sure if Google Sheets has quite as advanced functionality as Excel, so we left that intact as an Excel file at first, just so that all of that stuff would still work. But at the very least, I'm considering kind of taking all of those, all the different comments and making them into a more simplified, just basically generic feedback, like, 0 points, this feedback, 1 point, this feedback, 2 points, this feedback, etc. It wouldn't be as fancy probably at first, at least, as far as like typing in scores and building feedback, but it's possible that I could just essentially build it into the site or just make it a Google Sheet that's like kind of part of the site. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Can you add the accent inquiry protocols next to the accent form? Potentially. So the form itself right now is kind of a separate thing. I believe I'm still sharing my screen, right? Okay, yeah. But you'll notice here, like the accent inquiry form, this will open in a separate like Google form page. But if you click not sure, it will actually take you directly to the help page and it will outline all the accent inquiry protocols here. Maybe we can look into kind of incorporating that more as one thing in the future. But for now, if you need to reference it, it's right there next to the link on the assistant, so you can check it out at any time. And also from this page, there is a link to the inquiry form right here as well. Any other questions? Cool. Anyone have any other assistant related questions? Otherwise, I think we can crack on. Let's see, any chance of having exemplars of written feedback to reference so new MCMs in particular can see what type of amount of written feedback each is looking for? Yeah, that's a really good point. So I was actually thinking of opening up a forum post for kind of for MCMs to maybe give some tips to the new MCMs who are onboarding. Kind of an opportunity to share.
Why don't you go into the kitchen? You can use that toothbrush and toothpaste.
And also another thing I'd like to do is sorry about that. So, and then another thing I would also like to do, I think shortly after the panel today, I'm going to be making a post also about, in the forum that is, about like what kind of errors or things do you do in your student role to kind of test the applicant. I think those, it would be great to get everyone's feedback and ideas for the new MCMs to kind of have something for them to quickly reference in that, and get that information from people who are actually on the front lines conducting mock classes. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would all love your feedback and would appreciate it a lot while they're getting started in that role. Cool. All right, I think we're gonna go back to Eric now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, let's get to some Q&A. So these were some questions that were compiled over the last week. And what is the purpose of tags? How many should we use? So the tags are used to basically, when a parent is looking for a teacher, the tags will help them find a teacher that suits what they feel to be their child's learning style. We'd like you to choose, anywhere between 3 to 5 tags. Some of the tags might come off as somewhat impolite. I would chalk that up to like a translation error. So I know that one of the tags is introverted, and sometimes introverted may be seen as, quiet, like to stay at home, doesn't like to socialize, but it means more in Chinese, kind of more like more calm, more easy to talk to, easy to build a relationship with, in like that one-on-one setting. Are there any leadership opportunities with the mentor department? There may be, depending on demand. So like I said, I'll send out a link later, and if you are interested in being a teacher mentor, you can fill it out and put your name on the application list. I'll get to the questions at the end. So if you have any questions, just type them in and I'll try to get to them at the very end. Okay, is there any update on when the interactive mocks will begin? What's the status of rolling out new mock timeline? Anything on the horizon? Never, oh, sorry, not right now, and not for a while. So again, indefinitely paused for an indeterminate amount of time. Are we still supposed to say we are 8 years old if the applicant asks us during the mock, the teaching portion? You can say that you're 8 years old, but again, the age of, sorry, let me just move something. But stress that it's about language ability, not the age of the applicant. So that's really important. Again, we don't want to make it seem like it's all about the age, rather that this is the student role that I'm going to play. This is what my language abilities are, and hopefully you can work with that. Many APs skip the reward slide and introduce it on the introduction slide. Does this count as skipping a slide and warrant a point deduction, or should it just be mentioned in the verbal feedback? It can just be mentioned in the verbal feedback. In the new MCM forum, there's a discussion about demonstration in the intermediate mock, the second portion, 1B. Some mentors mentioned deducting points if a new vocabulary word is not taught prior to the student reading. At the FastPass events, we are told to teach applicants to have the student repeat the new words, and then have the student read the text, and then correct the student if any errors were made, and then define the new words, and then extend when appropriate. I hate to be setting our applicants up for failure or a point deduction. If this is not what we expect them to do in the mock class, what's the official stance on this? Okay, so deducting points if a new vocabulary word is not taught prior to the student reading. It's fine to not deduct a score. It depends if the teacher teaches it later or not. If they do not explain or define the new word at all, then deduct a point. We need to follow the flow, but the order can be changed. Is it accurate for a mock 2 when choosing pass or fail to consider as a frame of reference, is this applicant ready to teach in a VIP kit tomorrow as a guideline? This is tricky to answer. I believe an accurate frame of reference would be, will this person be ready to teach with VIP kit in the future? I believe that most of you have had an applicant who says, with a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of practice, this person would be a fantastic teacher. So you can use that when choosing pass or fail. So I'm talking about the pass or fail option at the bottom of the feedback form. Please don't cook the scores to pass who you think should pass or fail who you think should fail. Try to follow the rubric and the rubric breakdown to the best of your ability. What is the best practice if an AP on a mock 2 does not do well, but it appears to be a training issue rather than a teacher skill issue? This one's a bit tricky. Ideally, we like to find the teachers that are able to teach well. I think our rubric currently allows them to demonstrate that, even if they don't follow the exact breakdown of how the class should go. But I'm going to ask a question about that later, and we can kind of get an open discussion about that. For the grading that we enter in the AP text box for the AP, how do we handle the situation when the AP rushes into class, at around 4 minutes. Do we rush to enter the text, or is it okay to not have text? Thank you so much for asking. Have a great day. Thank you. It's best if a message is still written in the chat box. The most important part is to include the teach at vipkid.com.cn email address. This is just so that in the event of any kind of technical difficulties, they always know who to reach out to. So we'd like you to write in, hello, my name. It'd be nice to have one, your name, two, the email address, and then anything else that you feel is important. So if they're late, just make sure you get those two things. That's the most important thing. How possible is it to see a demand flow chart of interview slots so we can open our availability accordingly? A weekly support on this would be so helpful. So I am a little bit confused as to how to answer this question. So whoever asked it, if you want to elaborate, that would be great. But basically the way things are booked right now is you, the MCM, open up your availability, and then the applicant takes your time slots. So it's hard to show demand because we don't know where demand is until the slots are open. And the last page, the intermediate rubric says the teacher has the student repeat new words 3 times. However, I've heard at this level, once or twice is enough if the student is speaking correctly, which is correct. During the intermediate lesson, repeating the new vocabulary word 3 times is not required if the student already demonstrates that they know the word and are comfortable with its pronunciation. In this case, repeating the word twice is enough. Number 2, is it required in the intermediate level that the brand names on slide 19 also be taught? During feedback, I've advised APs to think of the objective, and if the student says this represents shoes, the objective is met. Don't spend time teaching Nike, McDonald's, etc. Is this correct? So we'd like you to ask students to tell you what these symbols or pictures represent. So the main goal is to practice the sentence pattern. If the student is smart enough to know that the brands, then you can extend to the brands. It could be counted as common sense that big M represents McDonald's. To students in this level, we don't require them to be able to know the brand names. So it's the sentence structure that is most important. Is it required that the teacher use the exact target sentence, or is a similar one that means the same thing okay? For example, instead of letter makes the sound sound, the AP uses letter, sounds like sound. Should a deduction be taken for this? Yes, it is required, especially for low levels. If a similar sentence happens consistently, it would be counted as incidental language. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the questions and try to answer them. Great idea about mistakes MCMs can make. Can this be organized by level? I think that would make it easier and less overwhelming to go through. Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Maybe we can put out a form, try to collect your ideas and get some good mistakes that we can make. Can we potentially change the tags to align with the tags parents use in the feedback for teachers now? They seem much more accurate. Some of the current tags I find difficult to use. Yes, we can. Has anyone ever chosen affectionate as a tag? Well, they would if they got me as an applicant. Can we get the Chinese equivalents made available to us? I didn't even consider the different meanings. We could, but like just Chinese and English are very, very different languages. So if you were to do a word for word translation, it probably wouldn't translate as well. That's why we try to choose like the best match for it. So we can try to make more accurate translations. Did you announce the winners for the feedback contest? We have not yet. We got a lot of submissions. We're still making our way through them, so we will do our best to announce them next week. Was the previous question talking about deducting a point for lesson objectives or repetition? For repetition, the order can be changed. So I think you're talking about this one, number 3. So basically what we're saying that if the new vocabulary word is not taught prior to the student reading, That doesn't mean that you have to deduct a point or anything like that. It just means if they teach it later, then that's what we're looking for. So as long as it's taught at some point during that slide, then it should be fine. I feel like you answered that earlier when you said you were starting to think about showing what slots had booked. Yeah, so the only thing we can do is try to show demand from the previous week and try to use it to update for the next one. Is there any update on the MCM substitute program? At this moment in time, it is also indefinitely paused, but I would love to implement it as soon as possible. It needs to be the same for repetition. This is a key for ESL strategy, and students need the consistency over all the lessons in the unit. Yes, I agree with that. Are all tags positive then? For the most part, only the positive tags will be shown to the parents. And then the more critical tags are for internal use. Okay, so that brings us to the next question I want to ask. Who views and decides, oh yes, who views and decides the scores for monthly mock evaluation? So we have a team member, her name is Lynn. She will spend all month looking for 4 videos where we feel the MCM did an exemplary job, and we had maybe some interesting applicants or people who may have been a little bit more difficult to score accurately. And then basically everyone on the mock class team who are not here right now will watch the video together and then come to a scoring and agree on a scoring rationale. So that's how we decide the scores. It's not through a single individual, it's through a group of people. If the AP test for comprehension in 1B and the student shows understanding, is it fine to skip the definition? I will say yes, but I'm going to follow up on that. Oh yes, that would be, that's fine. But again, I will clarify that. Can you write that down? Okay, but can you write it down? Here. It's the AP test for comprehension in 1B. Right, so that brings me to, are there any other questions about anything that I've talked about so far? So again, the things that we've gone through, interactive training update, inclusion of weekend-only MCMs, current recruitment process, MCM assisted feedback, and Q&A. Are there any other questions? No, okay, so.
Eric, I just have one question that I didn't get a chance to submit. Is it okay to ask right now? It's
absolutely, go ahead.
Really related to anything you've talked about already, but it was just a question that I wanted to submit. I've talked to several applicants in the past month or so, and I think I even brought it up in the last MCM panel, but people who choose the recorded demo option and then the first like live person that they're seeing across the screen is in their mock class 1, I've found that most of those people end up saying that they didn't receive any written feedback from their recorded demo. And then they come into the mock class and they're like, oh, well, I did so well on my demo and I'm sitting here in my mock class 1. And then I asked what sort of feedback they received and they said they didn't receive anything. And I often find that those folks are not very, I mean, even if they prepare in their own way for the mock class, I find that they're not very prepared for like VIP kid standards because, you know, nobody was sitting across the screen from them for their interview demo and they didn't receive any written feedback. And like I worked with someone, for example, today where that happened. It was like, I can see how much potential she could have had if she had had that feedback to prepare her for mock class 1. And then she scored pretty low because she didn't receive any feedback. And I just feel like that's kind of, I mean, you know, unfair that some applicants who choose the live interview option are getting that feedback and kind of getting that advantage in that sense. And then those who choose the recorded demo are sort of like not getting that interaction. So I just wanted to bring that up again and mention it.
Okay, yes, that's definitely something that I will look into. I wasn't aware that the people who submitted demo videos weren't getting written feedback, and it seems like that's a major pitfall on our part. So we'll try to get that fixed as soon as possible.
Thank you
for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, of course.
Are AP still receiving feedback for the level they scored higher on mock 1? At the moment, I'm still unsure about exactly which feedback they're getting. So we'll try to continue to sort that out. Someone mentioned this above, but you did not comment. Could we have the rubric generic feedback integrated into the class, like the unit assessments like we do for students. We can have it integrated. The only thing that we are having difficulties with is making it optional. So ever since we've released the generic comments, we've kind of been paying attention, and some people love using the generic comments. They don't need to tamper with them. They're happy to just tick, 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 tick and send it off. But some other people prefer to add their own voice into their written feedback. So both are fine, but we are trying to work on a function basically where at the very bottom or at the very top of the feedback form, it says like, I want to use generic comments. And if you use it, tick, then all the scores, then we will basically write everything for you. If you do not tick it, then you will have to generate your own comments, whether it's through text blaze or a modified generic comment that you use, or maybe you write it yourself. So that's something that we're still struggling with working on. In the NTS trials, I saw so many teachers start and end on the song slides and not on the hello and goodbye slides. Is this new? This is not something that we have been pushing. I've had several referrals lately that have received confusing/conflicting information from the recruitment team. For example, getting a phone call after she had already been preparing for a recorded interview. She felt bullied into doing a face-to-face interview. I feel like this issue is something that has been going on for a while. I think many people could see how this is not good. But our recruiting team are basically trying to push people to get through the recruitment process as quickly as possible. And quite often that can come off as bullying or pushing. In many ways, that's kind of a difference in culture. We are trying to show, and the purpose of this is try to show that we are interested, VIP Kid is interested in having you as a teacher. And we want you to get through the recruitment process. So if there's anything we can do to help, we try to aid you. And quite often that can come off as a little bit stifling. So that's something that VIP Kid has to continue to work on, and hopefully we can improve on that. Will the bonus class for Jumpstart be reviewed by MCMs or no? This will not have anything to do with MCMs at the moment. And I had one, then two. What happens if you forget to submit a monthly mock evaluation? Is there any way to submit scores late? Okay, so we're gonna go all high school teacher on this. We send out the monthly mock evaluation videos on usually the first Wednesday of the month, and then the deadline is a week later. So you have a week to complete the monthly mock evaluations. The deadline will always be 11:59 a.m. the following Wednesday. 11:59 a.m. Wednesday, Beijing time, the following Wednesday. That's the deadline that it has been for a while, unless there's like a snowstorm that's taken out, you know, the East Coast or the West Coast or something like that, then we might extend it a little bit, but you have 1 week to complete the monthly mock evaluation. So I believe that is sufficient time to get it done. So if you forget to submit a monthly mock, there isn't any immediate consequences or anything like that. But again, we would just really like you to get it done on time. What is the current number of active teachers? I think we have something like 45,000, give or take. And how many students? I had that written down also. I think right now we have about 400,000. Was that the number? Yeah, around 400,000. So a lot. How many, and if we miss one for vacation, that's fine. Again, if you are on leave or if you need an extended absence or if you're even gone away for however long period of time, just fill out the leave tracker and there's a little box that says, I'm gonna miss the monthly mock evaluation. Tick, you fill that off, you're good. Is someone from HO coming to Chicago? Maybe, it's not me, but there's a very, 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 very high likelihood that someone is going, someone that most of you will probably recognize, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm currently trying to log into my mock in a few minutes and have a blue screen. Any ideas on this? Yes, live troubleshooting. Okay, so with the blue screen, anybody who booked a mock class prior to 4 p.m. yesterday, so basically, if you booked before then you, the MCM, cannot enter the classroom until the time that the class starts. Okay, so you can't enter early right now, Catherine, but you will be able to enter once the class starts. So just wait for that official time to start and then you can enter. I sincerely apologize. I know that a lot of you like to go in, type in your little intro and your little blurb, get ready and set up. But just for any classes that were booked prior to 4 p.m. yesterday, you will only be able to enter the classroom at that time. So yes, I'm sorry if you get a late attendance email or something like that because of this, just send it in, say, I had the blue screen issue, and we'll take care of it. If stars are used as rewards, is it correct to score 0 for rewards? We would like to see a secondary reward system. Someone say how do you be able to get it once it starts? Is there anything we can do to be better trainers for current teachers? Would that be something that teacher mentors do? Yes, it is. I hope it's Cindy. No offense, Eric or Bryce. Wow. Wow, unbelievable.
We're very hurt by your comments.
My mocks for today have stayed live until I submit feedback instead of starting to convert. It's probably a glitch. If this issue continues, then send us an email in 24. If this issue is still around in 24 hours, then shoot us an email. Okay, so now the question that I had for everyone. So right now our rubric is structured such that it's quite, how do I put this? It's easy to fit someone into like a mold of what a good teacher is like, right? So you've all had these mock classes where it's very clear that they're watching these YouTube videos and they're just going through the motions. And then whenever you throw a curveball at them, they're not able to adapt. So one of the struggles that we have with developing a rubric or updating a rubric is to be able to have a rubric that is able to accurately assess a teacher while also having quantifiable results. So how can we show that 3 out of 3 on this means that they're a good teacher? And how can we maybe measure a statistic that shows that they will continue to be a good teacher and they're not just putting on an act? So I guess my main question is, how do we better improve our rubric? Whether we start from scratch and create a brand new one or we change the existing one, I'm looking to get your feedback on what you feel is the best way to assess what a good VIP Kid teacher is like. That isn't easy to fake. So some of the ideas we've had are having different types of mock 1s, different types of mock 2s, different types of classes so that they're not ready. But over time, even that will be easy to adapt to. So if we're talking about just the bare bones, the rubric itself, what do you think is a good way to improve our rubric? We will send out a chat later. A survey later that you can fill out. You can also type in your answers here. I'm not going to be able to go over all of them, but we'll save the chat as well. So we'll be able to go through the chat later on. And if anybody would like to, if anybody feels like they are not able to type out their thoughts and their great ideas, feel free to unmute yourself and have a go at it. Okay. Okay. So we'll save your chats and we'll take a look at it. We'll send out a survey as well. So yeah, I think that basically brings an end to our MCM panel for.
Sorry, one more thing I wanted to share real quick before we go. Can I share my screen? Please, pretty please. If Eric will grant me the power, I would like to share my screen. Just a moment here. There we go. So just one quick thing I wanted to share. Some people are having trouble accessing the assistant. Either they, I forgot to mention this earlier, so I wanted to bring it up now before we part ways. Some people, when they visit the assistant, they get like a 404 error, like the site does not exist, or you can't access it for some reason. I just wanted to clarify something real quick. So based on the Google account that you sent to us, which we used to invite you to the assistant site, for example, if you have more than one Google account logged in your browser, that may be related to the problems that you're having accessing the assistant site. So one way you can quickly check and make sure which Google account you're logged into is if you go to google.com, like the actual search engine website, up here in the top right corner, there's kind of like a little icon. Most of you probably have some kind of picture or like profile sort of thing here. If you click on that, I'm not going to because it will show all of my email addresses, but if you click on that, you can quickly get a list of all of the Google accounts that you have logged in your browser. Make sure you choose the one that you sent to us for the assistant site, and then directly from google.com, after you've made sure you're logged into that one, and you can go ahead and type in the MCM assistant information there, and it will take you directly to the site, and you'll be logged in with the correct account, so it won't be invisible anymore. Anyway, just wanted to share that quick tidbit since I've gotten that question a few times.
Okay. So yeah, that brings an end to our MCM panel for April. Thank you all for attending, and yeah, that's it. So have a great time with your future mock classes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to send them our way. And yeah, so thank you very much, and cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
By
Thank
the
you
way,
guys so
I
much.
would love for you to come as well, but you already said that you were coming, so I didn't mean to insult anyone's feelings. Go Blue Jays!
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Insulted.
Bye.